When this woman sold her stroller to another mom, she had no idea what she was getting herself into. The stroller was in great shape, but the buyer made a shocking discovery the next day. There was an unknown object hidden in the stroller's lining. Suddenly, a feeling of unease washed over her, and without hesitating, she dialed the police. Little did Mindy, the proud new owner of the stroller, anticipate stumbling upon an unexpected surprise within Laura's old buggy. At first glance, it appeared to be a well-maintained baby carriage. Unbeknownst to Mindy, this seemingly ordinary stroller hid a big secret that would forever alter the course of her life. Laura had meticulously taken it apart, carefully packed it, and then sent it to Mindy via mail, unknowingly passing along this life-changing discovery. Little did either woman realize, the stroller had been tampered with during its journey to her, an unsettling fact that would have forever remained hidden if Mindy hadn't noticed one tiny detail the following day. It was during a leisurely walk with her daughter that Mindy stumbled upon this strange revelation, an outing that usually went without any unusual occurrences. However, this particular day proved to be anything but ordinary. Mindy was overjoyed with her brand new stroller and couldn't contain her excitement for the morning outing with her little daughter. Living in the sunny state of Florida, she was delighted to find that the weather was ideal for a leisurely stroll along the waterfront. Thanks to their early start, the streets were absolutely deserted, allowing Mindy to enjoy a serene walk with her daughter, free from any unnecessary interruptions. Little did she anticipate the arrival of a string of unexpected admirers. "What's happening?" the anxious young mom cried out, scanning her surroundings. Initially, she set out on her stroll with her adorable little one, only to find herself encircled by unwelcome guests. And these intruders to the neighborhood were relentless in their pursuit. There wasn't a person in sight, only some street dogs sniffing around overturned trash cans. Not an issue, since these animals usually keep to themselves. They were simply curious about the litter scattered around. However, as Mindy walked past one of the dogs with her stroller, the animal became alert, and its ears perked up. She saw the little animal looking around searchingly and soon after following Mindy and her stroller. That dog must want to play. A strange thing for a street animal, Mindy thought. Probably if she kept walking slowly without doing anything special, the dog would turn around again and focus on the overturned wastebasket. But that was not what happened. In fact, it only got worse within the short time that she started her walk until she finished it. It seemed like every street Mindy passed was bulging with dogs, and literally, each and every one of them started following Mindy closely. The young mother's steps quickened and she tried to get home as quickly as possible through a shorter route. "I didn't like it at all. All those dogs around me and my baby. It seems dangerous," she said. But she had never seen the actual reason these dogs were following Mindy coming. She had now arrived home, and when she looked out from her living room window, she counted no fewer than 24 dogs howling at them on her lawn. "What do all these dogs want from me?" the now anxious mother thought. Even the neighbors' dogs were now starting to howl from the fence separating both gardens, and Mindy was starting to get quite scared. It was clear by now that it had something to do with this stroller that had bought. After all, her neighbors' dogs were normally always quiet. In the 2 years she had lived in this house, she had never heard the four-legged friends make any noise before. She therefore decided to call Laura. Her trembling fingers pressed the number and Laura appeared on the other end of the line. "Hi Mindy," with Laura. "How do you like the stroller?" asked the still ignorant Laura. She was about to be surprised. But during this phone call they would both find out a strange secret. Mindy explained how she had been chased by dogs all morning and how they just could not leave this stroller alone. She herself had already walked outside to see if it was up to her, but the eyes of all the dogs remained focused on the window the stroller was behind. Laura didn't understand a thing that the concerned mother was talking about. She had never experienced this problem herself and assured Mindy that she had not done anything crazy with it before sending it over to her. Mindy decided to use the video function of her phone and let Laura watch along as she inspected the stroller thoroughly this time. There was nothing weird about the stroller. At least nothing looked weird on a first glance. In fact, the stroller almost seemed to still have the new factory smell. Nor were there any strange stains on it. Mindy was about to give up when Laura saw something on the video screen of her phone that didn't belong there. "What is that?" "Mindy, what is that under the stroller bed?" Laura asked on the other end of the line. "What do you mean?" Mindy asked in reply. "There on the side of the red fabric," Laura pointed out. It was hard to see, but when Mindy looked closely she saw it too. Through the red fabric, a very small light seemed to shine. Mindy described it as if someone shone a laser light on the stroller from a distance. But this light was not coming from outside. No, this light shone from inside the stroller and made its way precisely through the fabric to the outside. That was not there before Linda promised the young mother. So what was in there would be a surprise to both mothers. And as Mindy got closer, she also saw that the fabric had been opened and restitched at this spot. Laura swore on her life that she was not the one who had placed the light in the stroller, and Mindy believed her. But then, what was it doing there? She decided to grab a pair of scissors and cut the stitching loose. Laura watched the discovery tensely from the video. It was a small device, not much bigger than a USB stick, and it did indeed have a bright red light built into it. She looked at it from all sides, but at that moment did not really understand what she was looking at. But it would not take long for them to find out the dark secret it held. It was immediately clear, though, that this was what the dogs were reacting so violently to, because the moment Laura walked outside with the stick, the dogs immediately stopped staring at the window and they started following Laura instead. She ran circles across her front yard. And, as she had expected, the dogs followed her eagerly the entire time. What is this thing? Laura had a bad feeling about all of this. And so together, the two mothers decided to call the police immediately. The police was called, and before Mindy could even finish her whole story, she received an answer she had not expected. In fact, the officer on the other end of the line knew exactly what this all was about. He recognized the device and even told her that at this very moment he had a similar light laying right in front of him on his desk. He advised Mindy to stay at home and, on top of that, lock all windows and doors. The officer would come to her house immediately to explain everything. What is going on? Am I in danger? What was going on here anyway? This sounded pretty serious to the young mother. Mindy decided to listen to the officer and quickly locked all the windows and doors. Nervously, she sat on the sofa waiting for the officer to be on his way. Laura, too, had decided she wanted to help and had got into her car to drive towards Mindy's house. She looked nervously at the stroller and secretly wished she had never bought the damn thing. Laura could not do anything about this, of course, but she had not even had the stroller for a day and was already part of a police investigation. After about 30 minutes, the bell rang and the young mother heard knocking on her door. There were two policemen waiting in front of the door when she opened up. She let the men in uniform in and showed them the laser light she had retrieved from the bottom of her stroller. "Can you guys finally tell me what this is? Because I'm starting to get a bit scared," Mindy asked nervously. The two men sat her down and looked over at the light. The officers tried to calm the mother down, but also confirmed to her that this was not just a simple LED light. It was a GPS device that could perfectly transmit a location via radio waves. That of course explains why the dogs were following Mindy. They, unlike Mindy, could obviously hear the high-pitched tones of this device perfectly. But then what was this device doing in her stroller? The officers said Mindy was just in time with taking action. Because one night later and she would have been too late, because this was not the first report about this. In fact, over 50 burglaries had been committed in the city over the past few months, and this GPS device was eventually found at each location. The thieves placed the GPS device in certain products, and through this device, they could not only find the house remotely but also disable the alarm. Each time, the device was discovered too late and police were only on the scene after the house had already been robbed, but Mindy and Laura's discovery in this case was an unprecedented breakthrough. The officers devised a simple but effective plan. They would leave the tracker in the house, as the burglars were not allowed to know about anything. Mindy and Laura were given shelter with her neighbors so they could keep an eye on the situation from a safe distance. The officers explained that the burglars often struck the night after the package was delivered to the house in question, so now they only had to wait until darkness fell. The officers exchanged their uniforms for normal clothes and hid in Mindy's house with all the lights turned off. Everything had to look as deserted and attractive as possible to the burglars. And the cops were right, because the same night, at 1:22, Mindy and Laura saw a van parked in front of the house. It was a perfectly normal postal delivery van, so it was obvious that the thieves worked there. Makes sense because they were the only people who had gotten their hands on the stroller after Laura sold it to Mindy. Clever plan, everyone attending thought. No one would be surprised if a mail delivery van drove down the street, not even if it was at night. So they can work undisturbed, Mindy whispered to Laura. The door of the van opened and two darkly dressed men got out. They looked at a device in their hands and walked towards the front door. But these dastardly men still had no idea what to expect. They thought that this was going to be an easy job, a job they had done many times before. Mindy alerted the officers in her house via a walkie-talkie she had been given, and because of this, everyone was now aware. The men indeed switched off the alarm and unsuspectingly stepped into Mindy's house. A torch was shown around, and the two officers hiding in the broom cupboard heard the burglars chuckling softly. They were talking amongst each other, making jokes about the poor suckers that were about to get robbed. They had no idea that they were the ones who were walking into a trap this time. They had just got hold of the first object when the officers struck. "Hands up. You have been caught in the act," both officers shouted. The burglars dropped the radio they were about to steal from their hands and tried to make a last-effort sprint towards the front door. But the act was unsuccessful. In contrast to the officers who knew the layout of the house perfectly, the burglars had a hard time navigating in the dark. The officers had already informed patrolling colleagues of what was about to happen, and when Mindy gave the signal via her walkie-talkie, all the officers in the area started moving. The thieves had managed to eventually reach the front door. even though they fell over almost every ledge in the house. But that was all part of the plan, because the thieves then ran right into the chests of 3 huge walls dressed in uniform and were arrested right there on the spot and taken back to the station. Mindy's house and belongings were safe again, and the cops even had a very special and appropriate surprise for both mothers, who had helped out so very much. Mindy's house was safe again, but the stroller where this all started now had a big gaping hole. Therefore, both mothers were given a new stroller by the local police to replace the old one and to say thanks for everything. Mindy and Laura were overjoyed with the new strollers and expressed their gratitude to the officers who had helped them catch the burglars. They were happy that they could make a difference and prevent more innocent families from becoming victims. It was a day they would never forget. From that day on, Mindy and Laura became good friends, bonded by their unique experience. The experience had been frightening, but it had also brought them closer together and made them appreciate the importance of their own safety. They continued to keep a watchful eye on their community, making sure that everyone was safe and secure. They also shared their story with others, spreading awareness about the dangers of burglaries and the importance of staying vigilant. As for the mysterious stroller, it was dismantled and the GPS device was removed. The police made sure that it was disposed of properly so that it could not be used again for criminal activities. It was a small victory, but it made a big difference in the lives of those affected. The experience changed their lives forever, but they were grateful for the new friendships.